All right, good morning, everyone. And I have some good news, the news that we've all been waiting to hear. Tuesday night, last night, the Department of Watershed Management finished the repairs on the water main break at 11th Street and West Peach Street, and were able to close up the hole and to be able to start water flow. And we saw businesses last night start to see their water come back, and residents as well, including that hotel that's right by the break, as well as the 11th Street Pub last night, Tuesday night. We were happy to see the results of long hours of hard work. However, the boil water advisory is still in effect until we get the all clear sign from the Georgia Department of Environmental Protection based on their guidelines, and we hope that that will happen at some point soon. I know that's especially good news for our Midtown residents and others on the east side that have been under the advisory the longest. This will also bring a sigh of relief for parents that were trying to send their children to Atlanta Public Schools summer programming. Again, we know this disruption wasn't easy for you, and we appreciate your patience and your understanding throughout this journey that we've been on. We are happy to be on the other side of it. That said, I will continue to be out and about this week, continuing to do wellness checks on our senior facilities, as well as speaking with our small businesses that may have been impacted by this situation. It took a lot from everyone to get through it, to get to this point, and so there are some folks that I want to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge and thank the hard work of Commissioner Al Wiggins. Thank him for his leadership, especially the Department of Watershed Management and their crews, and our contractors who have worked so tirelessly around the clock to fix the water main breaks that were needed to get back up and running. Over the past few days, I've seen firsthand the hard job that they do in terms of the scale and what's required of this personnel. The equipment is big, the equipment is heavy, and often the crews are down in manholes and very tight spaces. It is demanding work and difficult labor, and I think we just ought to pause and appreciate how hard it is, and appreciate their sweat and their hard work on behalf of the city of Atlanta and all of us. There are a few other people that I'd be remiss if we did not thank. Using the talents of the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management and Preparedness. That team, we mobilized the whole of government in an effort, a coordinated fashion, to ensure that we were able to seek the wellness of our citizens, especially the most vulnerable, like our seniors and those that are living in our homeless shelters. Approximately 45 senior facilities received water and wellness checks from the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services, Department of Parks and Recreation, Department of Public Works, Atlanta Police Department, and Atlanta Fire Rescue Department as well. Together, they donated 95 pallets, or over 11,400 cases of water. Many of it was donated by our corporate partners, so we thank them. 311 operators continue to work around the clock. 311 is a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. service, but they continued to work around the clock, and so did our E911 operators. City Hall was open for business. Department of Parks and Recreation opened its swimming pools and its splash pads, as well as was able to kick off Camp Best Friends on Monday and still is in effect today. I want to express my appreciation for the Atlanta City Council, and two of the council members are here, Councilmember Westmoreland and Councilmember Amos. And Councilmember Westmoreland helped partner with me and my administration to create a recovery fund through Invest Atlanta with up to $5 million to assist businesses impacted by the water main breaks. Eloisa Clementich, who is the CEO of Invest Atlanta, and my Chief Policy Officer and Senior Advisor, Courtney English, will be building out that program, and more information about that will come out soon. I also want to acknowledge the gratitude and for the support that the Biden-Harris administration and our Georgia U.S. Senators, Senator Ossoff and Warnock, who worked with our team to get the Army Corps of Engineers here. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are here, and they are on the ground and just getting started. And then tomorrow, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, will be here to help us with our resiliency planning. That brings me to the future. And as I've mentioned, the past few days were a call to action for all of us. Every city in America has aging infrastructure, and we will rise to meet this moment to ensure that residents and businesses alike have reliable access to water. We've already been working on upgrading our system. Just a few weeks ago, on May 21st, the City of Atlanta residents voted to continue the MOST, which is the Municipal Option Sales Tax, to pay for water and sewer improvements. That is good, and we're glad that it was supported again. But we must do more. We have to go beyond that to ensure the viability and sustainability of our water systems and make sure that it's sustainable and resilient for decades to come. And so we're getting started on that, and we've already started with those that I've mentioned before. My administration is standing up a blue ribbon plan to help enact the recommendations we hear from the Army Corps of Engineers and from FEMA. Mayor Shirley Franklin and Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce CEO, Katie Kilpatrick, who on top of her business acumen is actually an engineer by training and deeply experienced on water issues. They have already agreed to join this blue ribbon panel. Retired Major General Ron Johnson, who is a professor and the incoming Chief of Staff to the President at Georgia Tech, also has agreed to serve. He was the Deputy Commanding General and Deputy Chief of Engineers, which is the second highest ranking senior engineer for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Ron Johnson and the Dean of the College of Engineering, Rahim Beyah, have identified 3 Georgia Tech professors to assist us as well. So Atlanta, while this is indeed a big challenge, we have an unmatched big brain trust right here in this city. And we have the will. Most of all, we have each other. The people of this great city, all of you, who make up our communities and neighborhoods, will get through this together. The city of Atlanta, each and every last one of us, will continue to move forward together. So thank you, and now we'll hear from Mr. Commissioner Al Wiggins.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. I am very proud to say that this morning that the ruptured line has been repaired. All of our customers impacted by the main break now have water service. I would like to take a step back to really explain what occurred, more importantly, the complications that were involved with repairing the water main break. So we discovered later on, after a very difficult time with shutting water off at the point of the main break, is that the valve was located directly under the point of the break, which prevented us from seeing the valve. We knew that there was a valve in the vicinity based on the placards that we had. So we had to come up with a plan very quickly. Not only did we need to come up with a plan very quickly, we needed to develop a plan that really minimized the impact throughout the city. So this is when we decided to install a device called a line stop in 3 different locations to localize the repairs. I'd like to say hyper-localize the repairs. Actually, this device allowed us to localize the repairs even better than we would have been able to if we had a valve in place. So those repairs took place. Again, we're working in a very confined area. I'd like to send a huge thanks to the men and women of the Department of Watershed Management and all of our partners within the city of Atlanta. As the mayor says, this is truly a group effort. All the while making these repairs, all of our movements or any movements of valves that disconnected anyone from service, we wanted to really make sure that we minimize the impact. So therefore, some of the work was done during nights, during off-peak hours, just to make sure that we were mindful of the customer. So today the line has been repaired. I will tell you that we have not stopped there. There's more work to be done. The site, a recovery team will go to the site to make sure that the site is restored to its original condition. That will take a few days. This is a very intrusive procedure, required removal of significant amount of the road, excuse me. So now we're working on identifying ways that we can prevent this from happening again. This device that I have in my hand is a device that helps us to detect leaks earlier on. Not only does it detect the leak, it will detect the size of the leak. This device will be installed throughout the Midtown area. This is a study area that we'll use this device for. It's powered by AI technology. It will send us a message via a secure software program. So this is not just one step, this is one step of many that we're taking to prevent any future occurrences. We're also looking at valves that are in the area that did not properly seat when we were attempting to close those valves to conduct the repairs. We're also looking, as the mayor mentioned, to work with the Army Corps of Engineers to come up with a comprehensive strategy to look at our entire infrastructure. As it relates to the boil advisory, we have began taking samples earlier this morning. Hopefully, within the next 18 hours, we'll receive word from the EPD if we'll be able to lift the ban advisory. The 18-hour time period is an incubation time period. We cannot rush that time frame, nor do we want to. We want to ensure that we can provide safe drinking water to our residents. This is not just for a compliance issue. We want to make sure that we're good stewards and we're providing the best quality of water to our residents. And that's pretty much it for the repairs. Happy to address any questions, should you have any, about the repair process.
Commissioner, is there any reason to believe that these breaks will continue? I know you said you don't think they're related earlier, but should residents be on watch or be concerned at all?
I don't believe the residents should be concerned. I mentioned earlier we have over 3,000 miles of water sewer infrastructure. Water main breaks aren't uncommon. The scale of water main breaks that we experienced recently is not a routine experience. But we will have more water main breaks. I believe that we are much more prepared than we were in the past because of the devices that we're installing, some of the inspections that will take place. We're looking at infrastructure that is similarly structured as the water mains that we dealt with over the weekend. So no, our residents should not be worried at all. This is a unique set of circumstances. I want everyone to feel comfortable that we do have the situation under control.
Commissioner, do you have a map of where the oldest pipes are, and is there a plan to go proactively, let's get these 80, 90-year-old pipes out of the ground?
So we have a map of the entire water utility network. It's not categorized by the age. The age is noted on that map, but we do have a way of identifying parts of our utility infrastructure that is older than others.
And Commissioner, can you show us the device again that explains
Sure.
how it works, where you install it underground? Explain how that works.
It's a great
And
question.
have we used it before, or is this the very first time?
This is the very first time. However, we have been actively working on this project. This project will launch next week. So this is not anything new. It just so happened to, the break happened to take place in the midst of us trying to launch this initiative. But as it relates to your question, where does the device go? It's installed on top of all of our valves. So it attaches to a valve handle or a valve stem, and it really communicates with other devices and detects any type of leak and the size of the leak.
So how many would you guess will be installed throughout town?
A little bit over 20, and so,
In the Midtown, to start.
yes. So a little bit over 20 in the Midtown area, if I remember correctly. But the Midtown area will not be the only study area. This is a pilot program. This is one of many initiatives that we're looking at to detect leaks earlier on.
So that's the next question, Southwest Atlanta, Buckhead, I mean, won't you need to?
Yeah, but
administer?
I want to stress that this is a pilot program, so if this program is successful, we will branch off to other parts of the city. But the Midtown area and the southwest area of Atlanta, where we had the break at Joseph E. Boone and Brawley, there will be a few units installed in that area as well.
And Mayor, if I could ask you, I know you heard the complaints, a lot of people are worried, and they wonder if they should question the integrity of our infrastructure. What do you say to the people who are most frustrated?
Yeah, to the people that are most frustrated, it is frustrating to have a weekend lead all the way until last night of having a boil water advisory and some communities having no water at all. Water is such a vital resource, and we're seeing it right now firsthand here in Atlanta. Other communities have experienced it nationwide, and all the calls I've received from mayors across the country, some are saying it was me months ago, it was me last year, et cetera, because the infrastructure across America has a C rating, our water infrastructure, and so, which is why it's helpful for us to have partners at the White House that we called and with our senators to be able to get the Army Corps of Engineers and others here to be able to say, let's get ahead of this for the future. So while I say that we are frustrated, and that's understanding, I also know that we're going to go at this proactively to start moving in the right direction to replace as much of the broken or older infrastructure that we have, and also to use technology to our advantage, as you saw with that device. And that won't be the only piece of technology that we will implement. My goal would be to move us up to best in class, to look at the standards that we can exceed, and we want to make sure that that this doesn't happen again at this scale. But we also, know that there's a pathway to do so. Solving water infrastructure problems doesn't, you don't just, with the magic wand replace it. So we're going to have a prioritization list. We have a capital improvement plan that City Council and the administration have approved. I think it's time for us to relook at that and to see, the order of how to go about doing that. I will be asking the feds for more money. Lots more money. I want us to be the example of solving it, all of it, and that's going to be a number that's in the billions. It's not going to be a small number, but I think that will give our residents more confidence. But also know that today, showing that there's water running and that we're all together working on this should give some confidence that this solution is, that we're meeting it head on, and we're going to meet the challenge of, this has been decades in the making, and we just happen to be at this time where this incident occurred. Again, we have water main breaks and water leaks often in the city. Some done by man-made incidents, such as construction crews. Yesterday, there was a crew that from a whole nother agency, somebody else doing telecommunications work, dug into our pipe. And so that's a leak. And that is, we've had almost 500 leaks over the last 12 months. So 500 leaks or breaks. And so this one is just, this weekend had a culmination of a few that led to this result. So we'll be back on track.
Mayor, a lot of people are thinking about the world coming here with the FIFA World Cup. How do we prevent this from happening then?
Yes, we are excited that we're still going to be hosting the World Cup. We're excited that we're going to be hosting people every week here in the city of Atlanta. Just as this weekend, on Sunday, we still had Mercedes-Benz Stadium has 61,000 people in it watching Atlanta United play soccer, and then right next door was a Megan Thee Stallion concert with 20,000 individuals later that evening. And so when the World Cup comes here, we'll be prepared, but we're going to make sure that we try to find some ways to have some redundancies in the system, to try to make sure we get ahead of this stuff, to make sure we know more. While we do have the placards that tells us about our system, where the pipes are, it's also important to know where the valves are. It's also important to know how to make these situations, if there are old pipes, get them replaced in the right amount of time. So after we step away from these cameras, we got a whole bunch of offices to walk into to start working on things with the Army Corps of Engineers and others to be able to say, hey, what is our preparedness for the World Cup, but also for our everyday citizens, our residents. All of us deserve to have clean drinking water. And so, yeah, we feel confident that we'll be ready for the World Cup. We don't want anybody to be concerned about that. But this was a good wake-up call to say, hey, make sure you have checks on your system, redundancies. You think about all the time we spent making sure we checked in with our hospitals, making sure they always had water, making sure they had enough flow to do what they needed to do, as well as the world's busiest airport. So we continue to make sure that our systems are working, and this was a wake-up call to see what else we need to fix.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, you heard the criticism about communications. A lot of people felt they weren't getting real-time updates on boil water, on when water would be restored. Looking back now, 5 days out, is there anything that you feel your administration could have done better over the past 5 days?
Yeah, that is an important conversation to have because, as I said on Saturday at our 2 o'clock presser, I wish we had done a better job of communicating from Friday night on into Saturday morning. We're trying to solve a routine problem on Friday. It was a water main break. As I just mentioned, it was about 500 breaks or leaks over the past 12 months. When Councilmember Amos was out there, when our team was out there, we're looking at it as a break. You're going to solve it. But once the problem, you solved it and then another leak formed, it took another 2 or 3 hours to get back in there, fix it, and then you solve that, and then another leak pops up and it takes another 3 hours. I think we did not communicate those false starts, those setbacks. We were looking for the moment to say, it's all done. It's going to be okay. And that's, we learned that. And that we won't learn it again. We got it now. And that's why we committed to every 2 hours. We were giving communications, whether that was by email, whether that was by Notify ATL, whether that was by text message, or press conferences each day, multiple times a day, press releases, boil water advisories, to the tune that some people say, we get it. Okay, now you're communicating. Thank you. And we want that. We learned, and I apologize to the public for those that going into Friday night and Saturday morning were met with, where do we stand? Has the Brawley pipe been fixed? And then I still see gushing water at 11th and West P Street. What's happening there? We needed to do a better job of communicating that, and we promise that in the future we will, and that's why we have over the last few days. That's why you're standing here today, and that's why we'll continue this communication.
Mayor, hindsight is 2020. There was a lot of talk about your trip to Memphis.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets of not coming back fast enough or handling that differently at all?
Well, I was in Memphis for less than 24 hours, and I came back the next morning. But when you go away from town, you still have COO, deputy COO. You still have a commissioner. You also have almost 1,000 workers in the watershed management department. You have teams of people. So if the mayor of Atlanta can't leave for 24 hours at any time, that's a concern. But I think that we will continue to look at that and put mechanisms in place. This was a planned trip. I met with, at the invitation of a new mayor, the mayor of Memphis, met with their city council members and county commissioners and school superintendent. We talked about the Year of the Youth, talked about how we brought down violent crime, and they're facing some challenges with that. So we had some good dialogue about that, and I came back the next morning. Throughout that time, we used cell phones and we used Teams meetings to communicate with most of these folks here. Asher, who's the deputy over the mayor's office of emergency management, was hosting meetings with 16 departments, saying, okay, how do we get water here? How do we make sure we look into that? The COO was running that as well. So, and I was on those calls. So just as the world worked virtually for 2 years, I was able to stay in touch with all of our personnel to be able to say, hey, fire rescue, this is what we're doing. Police department, this is what you're doing. 311, can you stay later, et cetera, et cetera. So, we all can Monday morning quarterback. Today we're here about the good news that water is running, and the future news that we're going to use technology. We're going to ask for a blue ribbon panel to be established with experts and people that are committed to making sure that the future is brighter. And that's the direction we're headed, and we thank you all for being here today.
The last question?
So you talked about your collaboration with the White House. We know Congress passed that infrastructure bill, and a lot of the money went to the airport. Was any allotted to fix the infrastructure, the water infrastructure throughout the city?
Yeah, so whenever we ask for money from the federal government, we ask for it in a number of places, and it's a competitive process. And so the airport received some for the expansion of Concourse D. We received some for some of our roads and infrastructure related to our complete streets and bike lanes, and we also received some for the Beltline. And we did not directly receive some for our water infrastructure. So we now have a good case to go to them and say, that's what's going to happen with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and this team. We're going to get together, assess the situation, come up with the biggest number possible. This is all the things, I didn't want to say it that way, we're not trying to inflate the number, but we're going to show what the magnitude is to get to, best in class, the best shape possible, and a prioritization of that list. And we're going to go to our friends at the White House, go to the senators and the Congress people and say, hey, let's make Atlanta this shining example of how a 1910, a 1920, 1930 pipe infrastructure can be a 2024 install or whenever the quickest we can get it in. So that's our hope. Thank you.
Can you estimate the financial losses from this series of water main breaks over the weekend?
Ooh, do you have?
I mean, will that $5 million kind of cover all these businesses that have suffered losses, damage, et cetera?
Oh, okay, good question. Going back to the businesses that may have suffered losses. We know that some businesses were directly near a break where water might have come into their business or it might have impacted some operations directly. Those businesses are being visited right now. We know that clearly right there at 11th and West Peachtree with 11th Street Pub, also Steam House maybe being right next to it. We want to hear from those businesses, and that's why I'll be out and about over the next couple of days, talking with them. They do have insurance for some of that. That is part of running a business. I was a business operator for 9 years of a retail location, so things happen. You do have insurance for that. But we also wanted to, Councilmember Westmoreland and Invest Atlanta and us, we all came together thinking about how can we support them if they were right there directly impacted, or and so $5 million isn't going to go the whole city, but there are some businesses that were uniquely located near some challenges, and so hopefully they can make some calls into us and we can get some help. I don't know if it'll solve all of their problems, but this is our attempt.
An update on the road
Thank you.
closures?
Thank you.
Okay. Road closures, how long will the 11?
Concerned about the West Peachtree Road closure.
Do you know about how much longer West Peachtree will be closed?
So the intersection of West Peachtree from approximately 11th Street to 12th Street will be closed temporarily for the recovery of that site. As I mentioned, much of the work has been intrusive. We don't have a specific time frame at this moment, but we will provide updates on how long that will take.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.